Hello and welcome to Colleague 7 Sprint Review for 17.09.01. This is for the development undertaken between the 23rd of August to the 5th of September. Looking at the sprint goal, and we're continuing with the delivery of admin enhancements to enable self-sufficiency in the product, as well as work on items relating to the performance of Colleague 7. As it was mentioned in the previous sprint plan, this sprint was treated as a quality of life sprint, with the focus being more on back-end improvements to enhance Colleague 7's framework. Looking at the high-level items and to explain further, in this sprint we've introduced the ability to delete a lookup code. We've delivered performance improvements when accessing histories and resolved known concerns regarding the MS Graph token expiry, which is related to our integration with Office 365. We've addressed a scenario that would cause instances of duplicate histories being created. There have been improvements made to the performance of the skills area. We've done some work on track changes feature in the data dictionary, which I'll go through shortly. And we've resolved a bug relating to the use of characters, namely the apostrophe, when using the spec CV workflow. But that now caters for all character types moving forwards. We'll now go for a short demonstration on the key features from this sprint. Okay, so the first area I wanted to touch on is the option to be able to delete a lookup code now that's been added to the admin area under lookups. So within this section here we've got lookups as the option there. If we click on that area, and it gives us all of our lookup fields or lookup types, more to the point. So lookup is colleagues' terminology for essentially a drop down list where you have a field where there's multiple options in that field to select, such as candidate status as an example. But previously there was a restriction in the system in terms of being able to delete lookup codes, but also in version 6 as well, we had a restriction against certain lookups in terms of being able to delete certain lookup codes in the sense that it would protect certain fields from causing errors in other workflows along the line. With 7, with the way that we've coded 7, there's that dependence isn't so susceptible now. So what we've done is essentially opened up the area, the ability to delete lookup codes from any of the lookup types that you have within the system. As an example, if I was to select a lookup code, hit lookup there, you'll get the option or to get the request to confirm that you wish to delete that lookup. You press OK, and obviously that's going to delete not just that lookup code, but it's going to update any record in the system which is referencing that lookup code in the system. So there's quite a bit of responsibility that comes with doing that, and there's risk if you were to delete the wrong lookup, for example, against a record. But obviously it's important sufficiency functionality that we wanted to add it into the admin system. Within user group permissions, against the user group you have the setting of delete lookup. So it is a setting that you would enable for specific users against a specific user group, and we would obviously recommend that only key individuals that are appropriate to have that level of access would be assigned the ability to be able to do this. But that's the functionality that's been added relating to delete lookup. There's only one other point to reference, and that's that if a lookup field is a mandatory field, then it does prevent this delete lookup code process from working. Reason being is to prevent the scenario where you would have created a record, used the lookup that you now want to delete, and that then kind of invalidate that record meeting the mandatory field settings. If to get around that, what you could do is go to mandatory fields, highlight the lookup field that's mandatory there, just remove it temporarily, and then delete the lookup code. But that's just a fail-safe that we had to put in place so that those two functionalities and workflows didn't conflict. So that's just something to be mindful of. But otherwise, in lookups, there's now the option, obviously, to delete lookup codes there. Okay, so the next point to cover relates to the data dictionary, specifically the track changes functionality, but it's worthwhile having a general run through of just this area in its entirety, really. Within the admin area, there's obviously a section called data dictionary, and this will list off all of the fields that are against the various different entity tables that are on the system. Specifically, if we look at candidate, as a list of all of the associated fields relating to that. Here you have a series of different columns and how those columns are affected. So we have allow selection, and that reflects the options list. So on a candidate selection view, you obviously have these column options, and you can decide by clicking on options here which columns you want to appear on that list within the selection view. But obviously you have a whole range of different fields that can be also included as part of that, and that's dictated within this data dictionary under allow selection. We've also got allow search, which again follows the same format in terms of within the candidate search. Against here you've got allow search, and what fields you decide to set as yes or no will be dictated obviously within here in terms of whether or not they're seen and available to be searched. Here you've got allow merge, which obviously reflects the merging element of the merge field, although there is a separate candidate merge entity table for the merge specifically, but it's basically reflected here in terms of what fields can be merged or not, and there is a display sequence as well. So as you can see from the listing here, it's reflective of the lists that you've got set for allow merge, plus but also their display sequence in what ordering you want those fields to appear. So you can have it so that the fields are appearing in different orders, where some fields appear at the top. Certainly within the search as well, that can be particularly helpful for those fields that are regularly searched against. But the key update as part of this sprint was relating to track changes and this option here. So against a different field, against a different field against the entity, you can set a yes or no on a track change, and if you have set a field to have its changes tracked, then when you go onto that candidate record, and if when on a candidate record that field was updated, it would create a history record as a note that that field was updated and what it was updated from and to, and by obviously which user and when. So it's quite an important update relating to this whole area, but that essentially completes the data dictionary in its entirety in terms of its functionality there. Just to touch on some of the other projects which are in progress, the Outlook plugin as a development project continues to gain momentum. To give you some visibility on this, here's a mock-up which covers the basic functionality that we're working towards. Again, just to confirm, this is a plugin, not an add-in. So this is being designed to work in both your local Outlook application as well as the web app of Outlook, which is accessed in the browser. On the GDPR legislation that will come into effect end of Q1 next year, we've obviously done the necessary research to ensure that Colleague is ready to provide the tools that can cater for this legislation. We've documented a specification which is currently being estimated by our development team, ready for scheduling in Q4 of this year. When that is all confirmed, I'll be recording a video to cover off our plan so that it's clear what to expect, and I'll be looking to do that by the end of September, if not before. On the topic of training, we continue to record feature videos on close to a daily basis covering off the workflow of Colleague 7. Okay, so within Colleague 7 you'll be able to find the help file here. You can navigate within this window or pop out to another tab. Each main entity has been given its own section and a suite of related videos. The admin area in particular has received several updates recently. Also, the development section is an overview of all current and previous developments over the past 6 months. You also have access to past and current release notes. So it's a work in progress, but has made significant gains over the last couple of months. On the user training element, so a course specifically designed to tutor a new user on Colleague from start to finish, this is in development and I'm hoping to have ready in the next couple of months. Just to revisit the roadmap, and as you can see we're just about on course, perhaps a sprint or so behind our intended path. There has been a renewed focus on performance in this sprint, heavily based on the feedback we've received, and we continue to balance our objectives with the immediate priorities of the clients using the system. So as ever, please keep the feedback coming. The last thing to touch on is the mailing list. This is gaining traction, but I'd still like to get as many members of staff from your respective companies to receive these updates and understand what we're working on. So please feel free to put forward any individuals that you think would benefit from this mailer. This isn't an exclusive mailer. The more the merrier is very much my mindset on this. And feedback from day-to-day users can be very helpful. As always, if you have any queries or feedback, please get in touch. I'll be keen to hear from you. Also, for those using Colleague 7, feel free to submit your enhancement requests via the user voice integration. The next video will be the sprint plan for 17.09.02, and as always, this will contain a high-level overview on the items we intend to work on during this sprint. Thanks for watching.